Hi everyone, it's me, Lisa, and today we are going to wrap up 2022. It is the end. This video is filmed on the 30th. I really want to wrap it up on the last possible day of the month. And I want to do that because I feel that wrapping up before for me doesn't really feel like wrapping up. I feel that whenever it's like the 28th, the month is finished, no it's not. So I really want to give it a fair chance, get it to the very possible last moment it can, and then wrap it up and give it up to a new year. What this video will be mostly about will be my favorite 10 reads of 2022 that I highly suggest for you, and my least favorite reads for 2022 that I don't suggest for you all and that I suggest you stay away from. This strand of hair is annoying as hell. We'll try to clip it down because it really looks ugly. We are gonna start with the first books that are gonna be the favorite books that I've read this year. To give you a general wrap up, my initial goal of the year was to read 80 books. I managed to read 120, and my reading goal for next year will be around 100 books. I have selected a few top threes, a few best and worst, but I want to do it in detail in this video, so let's start with the few positives. So one of the books that I've read this year that I highly suggest is from Sarah J Maas, the Crescent City series. I loved that series. It talked about friendship, relationships. I loved the first book more than the second one, but overall it was a great series. I couldn't keep my ears off the audiobook because I listened to it on audiobook and it was so beautiful that I couldn't stop listening to it. So I highly suggest it for everyone. Then I have The Seventh Victim by Mitch Albom. That is another Audible original that will come out in March 2023 as an ebook, so that will be available for you, so get down the date. It's so beautiful. It's a mystery, but a mystery that truly kept me on edge, made me want to read more, made me want to keep it there and keep reading. I was loving it so much. The Audible experience was really good, but if you prefer ebook formats or even paperback format, wait a bit and it will come, and it's so beautiful, so you will love it so much. Then I had It by Stephen King as another one of my favorites. I truly did love it as an experience. It is a whole thing. It's just something that the book is so big, but for really good reason, and I really loved it overall. It was great. And I highly suggest it for everyone because I have an in-depth review of it in the Halloween reviews if you want to check it out, and I will link the video up here and down below. But overall, it's not a terrible horror story. It's not something that you might say, oh my god, I'm not going to sleep for a week after I read that. The experience is completely different than the experience that I think you might get from the movie. I didn't watch the movie because I was really scared by some accounts of people that watched it, so I didn't want to scare myself. But the book is just a work of art. It was so beautiful. The technique is insane, so don't hold back. Get down for it because it's great. You should totally read it. It's so worth it. Then another book, number 4, that I highly suggest is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover is super famous for her romance, and overall, yes, her romance is not bad. I've read several of them, but Verity was just next level. I loved it so much because it was dark, it had some mystery in it, it was unpredictable. I really loved it so much, and my boyfriend read it as well, and he hates romance to the core, and he loved it. So I just can say that it's just a great book, and I would highly suggest it for everyone. Then we go down to number 5, which will be Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Miller. That book was a whole experience as well. I feel that you can get a trend for what I like most, and mystery is one of them. And this book within mystery was just great because the story was unexpected, it was narrated beautifully, and I really couldn't get enough of it. And I don't want to say more, but it was just such a great story, so I highly suggest that you read it because it was just great. Another series that I started and loved was The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, number 6, and that was so great. It was fantasy, but it was so unexpected. The characters were great. There was the cousin that gets in more in book 2, but oh my god, he was so much fun. I laughed out loud so much. Darren is the love interest, and he is such a nice boy for once, and not overly sweet, not overly muscular and great. Such a nice person, just for once, a nice person. And the overall plot I loved, and I just liked the series. I read a lot of fantasy, but that one I really liked for the style and everything else, so I highly suggest you pick the series up. And I listened to it as included thing in script, and it was just great, so highly suggest it. Then number 7, I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. She is an actress and was an actress. Mostly she did Disney, iCarly, and she was sad. She just wrote this book that is a memoir about her relationship with her mother. And oh my god, that book. It was written so well. And the whole experience touches eating disorders, which is something that is very close to me, and I just loved it. It was incredible, incredibly written, the content was great, the style was great, and overall highly suggest it. It was just great. And my sister read that one and she said that it was really good, so I highly suggest that one as well. Then number 8, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Hobbit is not maybe the one that you might think, oh my god, is the one that I'm going for when you think about Tolkien, because you have the Lord of the Rings, which is what everyone talks about all the time. But for me, this one was the first one. Sorry, lighting. We have the whole Lord of the Rings series, but we will read that one afterwards. I'm sorry for the change of lighting. I hope you like this one as well, because the other one won't light up anymore because the computer is completely out of battery. I'm sorry. But we were saying The Hobbit is just a great experience, and it's a fable. It's just great. It's just beautifully written. The style is great. The adventure is so creative and lovely, and the basis for so many creative outputs. Like the Harry Potter series has so much from the series, and so I loved the experience, just loved it. And then number 9 would be 100 Days of Sunlight by Abby Emmons, and she is an indie author that I truly loved for a long period. I still love her, I just don't follow her as much now, but she does writing videos here on YouTube, and she has written that book as her first novel ever, and it's basically a YA, but the style of it is great. I loved it because it was so much fun, and it talks about one of the main characters is disabled, and the whole story is so cute and beautiful, but not overly romantic that it puts you really off from it, so I really enjoyed that. And last but not least, number 10 will be Legendborn by Tracy Dion. That one as well is fantasy, and the series is all based around King Arthur's Chevaliers and the whole legend of King Arthur, but basically takes some elements of magic from white people and differentiates them from black people. And I thought that that was really cool because it showed different sides of the coin, but many of the characters are white and black, and there is the aspect of racism in it, but also shows that not every white person on earth is bad. So I really enjoyed it. So now that we have dived into the beauty of it, we have to dive into the more grim stuff, the ones that I didn't like, and the ones that shouldn't be on anyone's TBR because I really thought that they was disgusting. So let's get down to them. Some that I hated is 2 Christmas reads. I really tried, but the one that I hated the most the past month was from Debbie Macomber, Jingle All the Way. It was a Christmas romance that I thought was pathetic, really poorly built. The whole plot made little sense. It was super convenient and I didn't like it at all. And overall, that was a struggle to get through. It was really terrible. Then I read another one for the Christmas reads, which is in my disgusting pile as well. One Snowy Week in Spring Hollow by Lucy Knott. It started well, but it just had too many problems, as well as terrible, sweet talk at the end that looks like you will never see people again in your life and you have to make up for all of the years you treated people badly ever, and it was just disgusting. I couldn't stand it. It was horrible. Couldn't get through it. It was almost unbearable. So that one was another disgusting one for me. And now let's get back because I have so many others. Number 3, I will have to put The Professor. It's a book that I read earlier in the year and I really wanted to get through it. I was like, yeah, I have the Audible version, let's go through it. But oh lord, it sucked. It had nothing positive about it. Poor book, but it just sucked. It was boring. The professor was so annoying. He thought he was superior to everyone else. It was a disgusting book. I just didn't like it. I'm so sorry. It's part of the classics, but there are some classics that I truly love, and that one was truly not a love of mine. I just couldn't stand it. Another one that I truly despised was The Curvy Woman and the Doctor by Emily Bright. She is another indie author and I was happy to do the ARC read for her book, but I have to say there is a lot of work to be done, and this has the great intention of putting curvy characters as main characters in some novels, but the problem with this is that it was only love interest. There was nothing to the plot but how pretty the male interest was, and the fact that he was pretty was just it. He had no personality, was absolutely boring, there was nothing to it, and I just couldn't do it. It was just so annoying. I don't know, it was just not for me. Then another one that I have to put, not because it was necessarily terrible, but because I wouldn't suggest it at all, would be Wasted by Maria Hornbacher, because that one is triggering. It's very triggering, not for me because I'm not in that position anymore, but for anyone that is struggling with their weight. The competition aspect in that book is insane, and I've talked in a whole video about it, and you can visit that one as well. I will put it in the link up here, but that was just not it for me. It didn't go through, I didn't like it, so I would say that that one would be one that I would skip. In all the great books there are, that one is one that you shouldn't be reading in my opinion. Then I had Shattered by Julia Bellucci, another ARC read that I got from Instagram, and I'm so sorry to say that even that one, it was just a no for me. I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry, it was just no. I was really not interested in the whole story. It made no sense and the whole story was confused. Just, I don't know, disgusting. I couldn't get through it. There's another video that I will post that will have an in-depth review of this book, because I have used it for another video, but just this book had zero sense for me. Made no sense, didn't like it. It was kind of a retelling of the story of the evil queen and Snow White, I think, but just made zero sense, so no, just a no for me. Then we have The Shadow in the Glass. That one was unfortunately a choice for one of the book club months that I had, and oh lord, talking about things that make no sense. It was just so poorly written. The whole story was pointless. There is the story of the fairy godmother that grants his wishes in exchange for a soul. If you get down to 7 wishes, you will have to give your soul. And basically this girl thinks all the time that she's so smart, but she's such a dummy. All of the wishes that she wishes for are completely pointless, and the whole story ends up in nothing. So I was just so confused about it. I'm like, why is this even a thing? So disgusting. Number 7, we have Consolata. It was personally not for me. I didn't like that. It was a story that I cannot remember much about, and I think that if this is a case for a story, it didn't leave you with much, so I'm sorry for it, but it's a no for me. Then I have Unhappenings, which is a genre that unfortunately I have to say I'm not a fan of, because Unhappening is all about going back and changing the present and things that have happened unhappen in the past, and this makes them of course different, and this causes everything to change. But the problem with it is that there is too much repetition in the whole story. I didn't like it at all for what it was, and after everything it just fell flat. I didn't feel that it had any continuity to it. It was just boring, and unfortunately it was not for me. Number 9 will be Tender is the Flesh. Oh god, if there is a book that I can just feel disgusted about more than that one, please scream, because I haven't found it yet. It was a whole thing that I reviewed in another video as well, the horror one as well, and that one was just, I don't know, so disgusting and pointless, and I could have really done without it for the rest of my life. So it was just something that I didn't stand by. There was the disgusting factor for nothing, and I really felt that it could have been a lot better, but unfortunately it wasn't. Maybe it could have had a point, but it ended on a pointless note, so that was just a no for me. And last but not least, we have to put in The Lover Hypothesis and Any Other Romance by Hallie Hazelwood. I subjected myself to both of the romances from this author this year, and I'm so sorry for it, because she has a writing that is just pointless, is just boring, is just super duper predictable and annoying and pointless. I have videos on both books if you want to check out my opinion on both books from Hallie Hazelwood on a separate note, but it's just such a disgusting read for me. So I just have to say that for me it's a no, and I will never stand by this author, and if maybe I will read another book from hers, it will be in the hope of finding something better that I totally won't find. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will give this video a like and tell me if you have found the same experience reading one of the books that I said were great or not, and if that was the case, tell me how. And if you want to read any of my recommendations, please tell me that as well. And I really hope to see you all in the next year, so don't forget to subscribe to see each other again. Love you all. Bye guys. Have a happy new year.